Howdy y'all. A couple hours ago I shot a video, and I've never shot such a bad video in my life. I'm going to try it again, see if I can get this right. This is Spinnerbait 101, Spinnerbaits for beginners. Try to keep it simple and short. I don't think that's possible for me, so stay tuned. I'm going to try to talk a little bit of spinnerbait stuff, because we love the spinnerbaits. Be right back. Okay, spinnerbaits for beginners. Since this is April, all across the country, this is the time of year when you're throwing spinnerbaits. But spinnerbaits are a 12-month bait. You can catch bass on a spinnerbait and numbers of bass on spinnerbaits 12 months out of the year. They obviously shine better in certain times, that being spring and fall, but I've caught big bass in the winter, I've caught big bass in the summer. It just no telling. Spinnerbait fits in a lot of places. First off, I'm looking at, well, look at this. I'm looking at probably 50 spinnerbaits there in different states with disrepair and things I'm working on. You do not have to have that many spinnerbaits. That's 45 years, and I collect a lot of junk. Some of these baits are fairly old. I built these baits a long time ago. I got a few baits here from when I was sponsored back in the 90s. You don't have to have that many. If you have to have 5 or 6 spinnerbaits, that'll get you by. The trick is to get some spinnerbait bodies, buy some spinnerbaits, and get you some extra skirts. I keep skirts in bags. Of course, I make a lot of skirts myself. Not hard to do. But if you have 5 or 6 spinnerbaits in different sizes, different blade combinations, and you got some skirts, you got a lot of combination potential. So keep that in mind. I throw a 3/8 ounce spinnerbait more than any other size, which is considered a little bit small by some people, I think. Look, I don't know if you can tell how beat up that old spinnerbait is. I throw a lot of 3/8 ounce spinnerbaits. I also throw spinnerbaits though from, I've got an 1/8 ounce mold. I haven't used any for a long time, but I throw an 1/8 ounce spinnerbaits. But I love that 1/4 ounce spinnerbait. Matter of fact, that 1/4 ounce spinnerbait with a number 2 Colorado or number 4 willow leaf, man, that is a fish catching booger across the country, and I've won tournaments with that bait. 3/8 ounce though, if you're gonna stick with one size, that's going to be on. Most of the spinnerbaits I throw are tandem spins, 2 blades. Single spin has some really cool applications, and there's times it will outfish this bait. But if you're trying to keep it simple, without going a bunch of weird detail, stick with some tandems. The trick is blade combinations. In a 5 or 6 spinnerbaits, all you have to have, you need to have a couple combinations. The double willow leaf is probably the most popular, and it's probably what I throw the most also. I throw a lot of willow leaves. I look down here, I got a lot of, there's a tandem willow leaf. I throw a magnum willow leaf. And I throw an Indiana blade. Oh yeah, reach over right off the bat, Indiana blades. Not necessary. Stick with the basics. So I'm going to talk real quick about colors, blades, and then a few more things on how to fish. I'm trying to get through this quick, I promise, because it's not that hard. Now I realize I'm the dummy, I'm the old guy. Not many people are going to watch this, I get that. But if I could help one person, I guess that's something. For blade combinations, all I can say is for a beginner, I like to mix them up on almost every bait I throw. That will be a nickel and a brass, the hammered brass, front or back either way. I probably have more with the brass in the front and the big blade being nickel. that gives you some combinations that, for one thing, it's different whether people throw. You get a little different flash. The nickel blade is a more clear to slightly stained water blade for flash, for how much flash it has. That hammered brass looking blade is a little bit more of an in-between towards dirty water. And then if you're in really dirty water, I throw ugly. And these will be cleaned up by the time I fish with them if I ever get to go fishing. A copper penny. Those copper blades have more flash in dirty water than anything except possibly the painted blades, but again, you don't have to have those. That's a heck of a springtime bait in any color water, like with red blades. But still, if you stick with some hammered nickel and hammered brass, you're going to get by. And if you just have to have either one, I'd probably go with the hammered brass. Kind of covers a little bit more of the bases. Blade size, I'm not going to get into that. A number 5 is starting to be a larger blade. There's a number 6. I don't know if you can get a reading on that. There's number 5. Number 5 is about as big as you need to throw. The front blade being a 2 to a 4 in that combination. Too complicated. I already went too deep on that. Don't worry about it. A spinnerbait does not technically make noise. Those blades are actually spinning with the water. I mean, I know there's some sound there. I know bass can hear that. But it's more the vibration they put off. So, one of your half dozen or so spinnerbaits start with needs to be a thumper type bait. Big old blades. That's a number 5 and a number 6. I mean, I've got, golly, I got such a mess here. A couple big Indiana blades. Big willow leaf. Vibration. The energy those blades put off is more important. The thump of the bait. Sometimes clear water, you want a little more subtle bait. Generally, you get in the dirtier water, and when the fish are more aggressive, you want a bait that's thumping, making some noise. So try to have at least one bait that makes that extra vibration with some bigger blades, or the different shaped blades. Now the Colorado blade puts off about the most vibration. The willow leaf puts off less. It's spinning a tighter circle. Too complicated. I've already went too far with this. It's not that hard. If you've watched very many of my videos or my ramblings on ultimatebass.com, I'm not a big color person. And of course I have 6 or 8 colors right here, but I'm just not a big color person on any bait. It's fun to have some change-up stuff. I like to throw things that nobody else throws. That's a silver and chartreuse. Hard to beat. White and chartreuse is almost unbeatable, but everybody throws it. Here's one right here I just made. Actually, I tied this one up a while ago, and doggone if I didn't make it white and chartreuse. Look at that. With a tandem, with a willow leaf and a fat willow leaf magnum on the back. Colors. Well, I found out when I pulled all these spinnerbaits out of my boat, and I could not believe how many of these are the same color. I've got some chatterbaits over here. Oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 baits out of this pile are blue, white, and chartreuse. Look at that. Why is that? Because it works year round. It looks like a brim, it looks like a shad, it looks like a whatever, and I don't think bass give too much of a darn about what color spinnerbait is, because generally you're throwing thicker cover, etc., etc. They don't get much of a look at it anyway. The blue, white, and chartreuse, and I love it. I got a bunch of them already made up, and I can't believe how many of these are blue, white, and chartreuse, just different blade combinations. There again, that nickel and the hammered brass. White is almost impossible to beat on a spinnerbait. It works in muddy water, it works in clear water, it works in in-between water. It looks like a shad, whatever. Well, there's a good bait right there. That's a half-ounce bait, a number 6 and a number 4. That one has some thump to it. Don't worry about colors. Nobody throws black spinnerbait. You try a black spinnerbait and watch what happens. They eat it up. It's amazing. I like to throw things different than other people. Kind of works for me. It gives me an excuse if I don't catch them. I say I didn't have the right color or whatever. I do 2 things with my spinnerbaits almost all the time. The one I do most all the time is I do throw a trailer hook. Now that trailer hook, that's about 3/0, all you need. I hear guys go, well, I don't use a trailer hook, I don't have to use one, but they use a crankbait with 6.6 barbs on it. They use a jerkbait with 9. Really? I want everything I can get working for me. I need all the help I can get. So I'm going to use a trailer hook if the cover will allow me. In other words, I'm not getting hung up a bunch of trailer hook. I'm going to have it set on there free. I got a piece of rubber tubing, aerator line for aquarium tubing, surgical tubing they call it, just over that hook. If it's a thicker cover and it's causing me problems, I'll put that piece of rubber over the eye of the hook, put it on so it's stiff, so it doesn't give as much, like this. It'll be more fixed. If I'm in a situation where it's costing me fish because I'm hung up all the time, I'll take it off. The other thing I do on spinnerbait, at least half the time I'm throwing one. And for 2 reasons, but I'm going to throw a trailer on my spinnerbait. That's a 3-inch or 4-inch twister with the tail turned down so it doesn't get in the way of the trailer hook. There's a reaper and a twin tail, which is pretty much wore out. Look at that. That's about it. The twin tail and the twister tail gets it done. What the trailer does for me, 2 things. When the fish aren't biting well, sometimes that extra, to me, maybe a little extra vibration, a little extra flash. It helps you change the color of a bait. If you have a white bait, put a chartreuse on, or have a chartreuse bait and put a white one on, a black one with white. It gives you a little change up. If that makes a difference. I think sometimes maybe it has over the years. I don't worry about it too much. I like the extra attraction. The other thing that I do a trailer with is when the fish are really biting. I can take this 3/8 ounce spinner and make it this big with a trailer. I'll put a piece of plastic worm on there. Makes big fish react. They like a mouthful. Now if you notice, all my spinnerbaits, everyone I've held up, the skirt's been cut pretty short. I want to give them a small target for the most part. But you put that trailer out there behind it, and that gives it a little extra incentive for them to grab hold. In my opinion, which doesn't always mean very much. So, pretty simple. Get some 3/8 ounce spinnerbaits. Tandems, blade combinations, whatever. I like the nickel and the brass, or copper and brass, or copper. I like to mix up my blades. Same thing, white spinnerbait with a white blade and that hammered brass. Look at that. It's just the mix. I like that. So 3/8 ounce, couple 3 different blade combinations, 1 thumper, have one that has some bigger blades. You may have to go to 1/2 ounce bait to make that work. 1/2 ounce bait. I got 3/4 here. I got, man, I can't believe how many 3/4 ounce I got. The 3/4, it's starting to be a big bait, kind of hard to fish for some people. But what happens that the heavier the head, the bigger blade you can use and make that bait will still work for you. There's a 3/4. Look at that. The skirt trimmed really short. Number 7 and a number 4. Thump, thump, thump. Big old blade. Keep it simple. Trailer hooks, a few grub trailers, some leftover plastic worms, whatever. Sharp hooks. Cannot have 2 sharp hooks on any lure, especially a spinnerbait. Okay, be back with one more topic, and I promise I'll be done. I hope somebody's still watching this. They usually click off by now. Okay, tackle. Spinnerbait fishing is not finesse fishing. Even those 1/4 ounce, I'm throwing it on fairly stout tackle. Because I'm fishing them around fairly stout cover. I'm fishing them around brush, grass, lily pads. I'm not messing around. I'm fishing where the big fish live and need to be able to get them out of it. I am going to throw minimum 15-pound line. I would never throw it on less. But anymore, I'm throwing 99% of my spinnerbaits on 30-pound braid or higher. You're not going to spook a fish with the line. It's like an A-rig. People worry about fishing line, throwing something like that. That big old flashy bait's where they're concentrating on. They're not worried about fishing line, I promise. Not enough to worry about. Even in clear water, they're looking at that bait. I'd worry more about them hitting the blades than the hook than I would be about line size. 30-pound braid's pretty good. I don't do a lot of 30, but 30 to 50 pounds good. 65 is overkill. There's just no reason for that. If I'm throwing mono or fluoro, I'm a monofilament kind of guy. 15-pound minimum. 17, wherever it comes in, is really good. 20 in that mono, it gets harder to handle. I do some, but again, I went to braid, and I've not hurt me at all on catching fish. Tackle-wise, I mean, rods and reels, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not very good at this, am I? I'm going to use a medium-heavy rod, whatever length, but a medium-heavy rod. Now, all rod manufacturers have different ways they weight their rods, but a medium-heavy rod will get most of your spinnerbait fishing done. I do have some 6.5-foot mediums that have backbone. You gotta have backbone spinnerbait, and they handle the smaller baits really well. That quarter-ounce spinnerbait, I throw in a lot in the spring on a 5.5-foot medium-heavy old-fashioned pistol grip rod, making short, little, precise tosses. And do I load the boat with that little bait sometimes? Don't get too hung up. There's no such thing as a rod that's meant just for spinnerbaits. It'd be a multi-purpose thing. You just don't want to throw a spinnerbait on a flimsy, whippy crankbait, like a medium crankbait rod. It's just not a very good spinnerbait rod. Stick with a 6.5 to 7 foot 3-inch or so, and medium, heavy, or a stout medium with a lot of backbone. A real heavy rod, you can't feel the bait as well. You can't deliver the bait to close and precise targets. And a lot of my spinnerbait fishing is close. I mean, 10, 15-foot casts. I launch them once in a while, but I try to keep as close as possible. I feel like I do a lot better job of getting fish hooked and getting them in the boat. So, simple. Keep it simple. Get a few different skirts, get a few baits with different blades, keep your hooks sharp, put trailer hooks on if you want. I like to have a few trailers on hand, and after that, I'm going to catch some bass. I hope you guys do too. Thanks for watching this. I said, I know my videos here ain't doing much. I don't care. I'm sitting here working on some stuff at my restaurant. It's freaking 9:30 at night, and I shot that video a couple hours ago and never even watched it. It's a piece of junk. This one here ain't much better. Guys, thank y'all for watching. We'll talk to you later. God bless.